You were posting resumes in your Facebook group, and you were going through and tearing apart people's resumes and rebuilding them. And so that's what I did. I sat down and I looked at all the examples you had out there. He offered me more money than what was in the job posting, and I hadn't even negotiated.
All right, ladies, we are here with Tonia Ruck. I am so flippin' thrilled to have you here, Tonia, because you are one of our ladies who has kind of gone from the I have no job, I have nothing, and I am in a really dire straits situation to now I am living the job of my dreams, and I freaking love my paycheck, I love my boss, I love everything I do. Am I not correct?
You are 100% correct.
That's awesome. And because you are in this situation, I am putting you in the hot seat. Let's put it that way. And we're doing something which is pretty incredible and fun, which is, Tonia, I'm going to ask you this big question. If you had to start over from zero and you had 30 days to land your dream job, what would you do? Ladies, if you're listening, make sure you take note, because this is how you go from, well, pretty much dire straits, which you can describe a little bit what dire straits means to you, Tonia, and take us through the process of your next 30 days.
Well, I was abruptly and unexpectedly laid off the week before Christmas. Boss came into my office and said, "I can't make payroll. You have to leave. We're done." And that was it. And so, yeah, it was a shock. Complete shock. I had no idea, didn't expect it, wasn't ready for this. I actually, I listed like the first thing that I would do, in all honesty, and that's one of the first things I actually allowed myself to do is I went home and I cried. I let myself feel all the things I was feeling. I let myself go through all the emotions, because I had never, ever had this happen to me before. And I felt like if I just stuffed it down and kind of went like, oh, I got to power through this, it wasn't going to help me. So in the end, I was just like, no, I feel like crap. This sucks. I'm unhappy. I felt betrayed. So I just let myself cry. I literally was just like, let it all out. Feel what you're going to feel, but don't wallow in it. And that was really big. Like, I wasn't going to spend the next week to not wallow. Yeah. I said, you've got tonight. Feel all the things you want to feel. Be as mad as you want to be. And then tomorrow we're going to start. And after that, well, actually that day, the same day, I filed for unemployment. And I think that that's important. A lot of people need to know, just file for unemployment, get that out of the way. You don't know if you qualify or don't qualify sometimes, but get that taken care of. So I came home, I cried, I told my kids, and then I filed for unemployment. The next step.
The week before Christmas.
The week before Christmas. And I wasn't prepared. I needed that next paycheck to pay the rent. I mean, that was it. I needed that money, and it wasn't coming. So,
let alone Christmas presents.
Yeah, nothing. Hey. Yeah, we had nothing that year. It was terrible. I don't even think we had a tree. So yeah, it was pretty lousy. It sucked. Worst Christmas ever. Also, the other thing I did was I called my landlord and I explained to him that there was money coming, but yeah, I would be paying my rent late. And he was totally cool. I'd never paid it late before. I'd always paid it early. He was fine. He's like, okay, I understand completely. You know, you've never been a problem tenant, so we're good to go. And so I did. I called him, let him know. And it was only like 5 days late, but you know, I told him ahead of time and I paid it and we were good.
Cool.
Yeah, so he was really cool. After that, I think for me,
so
in my
day 2 and 3, what
day
are we on?
Well, okay, day 1 is the day I lost my job, and I cried and I filed for unemployment and I called my landlord. Day 2, I sat down and actually, for me, I knew I wanted a remote position. I knew I wanted to work remotely for a company. So, and I had been applying for remote positions already. So I had some idea, but for me, because I knew what I wanted and I knew where I was going, it was a little different than necessarily going out and doing in-person interviews. I knew I was going to be doing interviews over Zoom or whatever, the phone, that kind of thing. But for me, the next thing I did was I started up my FlexJobs membership again. And FlexJobs is a job site that lists a lot of remote positions. And so I renewed that and started really going through, and I filled out the profile, made sure that I narrowed down like the fields that I was interested in so it could give me a better idea of what kind of jobs were available.
So, and then, but I know that if I can ask you, like, because you ended up ultimately landing your job using LinkedIn, right? So
that was my next step.
I'm like, if you had to give the advice to someone who's got 30 days, right? If you had to start all over, right? Rather than what you do, like what would you do again in 30 days, right? So day 3, you're already starting your FlexJobs account as well, just as a backup plan.
Mm-hmm. And then the next thing I did was review my resume. I pulled up my resume, and actually you were posting resumes in your Facebook group, and you were going through and tearing apart people's resumes and rebuilding them. And so that's what I did. I sat down and I looked at all the examples you had out there, and then like the lead title of what people were using and stuff. And I went through and I tore apart my resume. And then I had someone else review it, somebody who didn't really know me really well, but understood what I was doing. And the great thing about that is she saw me from a different perspective, because I was underselling myself like no tomorrow. I didn't think any of my skills were marketable. I didn't think I was, I'm older, single mom. I don't have a degree. I was like, nobody's going to hire me for this. You got to be like a superstar to get hired at a remote company. And so what I did was I started reading what you were saying, and we undersell ourselves as women. We often go, well, I did all the banking for this company for, 15 years. I handled everything, accounts payable, all of it. And you go, well, I handled the deposits and I balanced the checkbook, and you think, oh, it's no big deal. But
it's banking.
It's banking. It's finance. You're basically the chief, financial officer of this company. And so it was like sitting back and going, holy shit, I have a lot more experience than I thought I did. And then at that point, for me, tearing apart my resume helped me to start looking at keywords. It helped me to start saying, okay, this is what I did. Yeah. And then at that point, I hate LinkedIn. I hate it. So I did my resume for about 2 days. And I know that's probably a long time, but I redid my resume, and then I took my resume and I took everything you had said, and I went to LinkedIn and I started looking at other people's profiles, and I started paying attention to what they were putting on there, and I completely redid my LinkedIn profile. And that's how I got my job. Literally. Yeah. And I hate LinkedIn.
All right. So, but we're at day 5. Come on. If somebody has like 30 days, right? What happens next? So you, on day 5, you put everything that you've been like mulling over, rethinking your experience and upgrading your experience to what it really is rather than what you think it actually is. Now you're putting it on your LinkedIn profile. And
then I started looking at a lot of different job postings in the areas that I was interested in. And I started looking at what people were asking for. What are they saying they're looking for in that job? What are they saying they want for that employee? And also I learned some red flags. I know some people like the words, we want a rock star, but I think a lot of it can be negative, or, you have to sit back and look at what is this company actually telling you they're looking for. Sometimes when they say they want a rock star, they want somebody who works 18 hours a day and never takes a day off for 6 months. Is that what you want? It all depends on what you're looking for.
No, definitely not. That's not what I would want. Especially not as, I don't know, as a mom with kids, like, hell no, I do not want that.
Exactly.
Now, so that takes you through day 5, probably day 6, right? You're looking through, seeing what you like, what you don't like, adding into your profile those keywords that you do think resonate with you. And then day 7 rolls by. 7, 8, 9, 10. Like, what are you, between 7 and 15, like, where are you? What are you doing?
Applying to anything and everything I can find. Literally. Applying to anything and everything. And it seems counterintuitive. I know some people are like, you really hone it down and you get the perfect cover letter and the perfect resume. But what I did was I created a master resume. And I have that master resume now. It has everything I've ever done, all my job experience, all my education experience, everything is on this massive resume that's 2 pages long. And then I take that master resume and I create a resume for every job I apply to by taking out pieces of it and putting it all together in a new format.
Add every time. Oh, I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So I have one big resume and I pull from that every time and I update it periodically to make sure it shows my current skills, my current position, that kind of stuff. And then that's what I use to build resumes for other things. I also have a master cover letter, and I use that to build cover letters for each position. And basically it's already formatted, it's already there, and then you just edit it for what you want it to do. And it's not just editing, like take out the company name and the title and put that in there and everything stays the same. I take those keywords from the job posting, I take those keywords that I'm looking at, and then I apply them to the cover letter and the resume and make sure that everything lines up. And then I just applied. And my big learning experience was, don't be afraid to take a temporary position. I took a temporary job with Intuit, working for TurboTax for the tax season. They paid really well and they gave me a ton of overtime, but I knew it was for a set period of time. And it helped me to save money because I had so much overtime and I was working so many hours. I mean, I know a lot of people can't necessarily do that, but in my case, I was like, I need whatever I can get. I need a job. They paid really well. And they gave a ton of overtime, and it was time and a half. I mean, it was double time. You made good money. And so I wasn't going anywhere because I was working 24/7. And so I just saved so that I knew from the gap period of when TurboTax would end and hopefully my next job would start, I could pay my bills. But it also,
go ahead.
It also gave me the ability to take like my manager reviews, things that I was doing for TurboTax, Intuit, it's just a major company. I was working remotely. So it gave me the ability to have a major company go, hey, she did a really good job. I could take my stats. I could give myself bragging rights, basically. I screenshot everything my manager said that was positive, and I saved it in a Google Drive. And that helped me because people could say, okay, I didn't have remote experience before this, but I have it now. And I did it for a major company. Yeah, and it was huge. And I started talking. I reached out to people in other Facebook groups. I spoke to a Google recruiter a couple times. I spoke to an Intuit recruiter. I just started reaching out. I basically said, hey, I have a job now, but it's not the job I want. It's going to end. It's temporary. But this is where I want to go. And I just started asking everybody and anybody questions. Like, what are you looking for?
This is a powerful part. You were networking, right? Because you were no longer in that, like, so this is what's so powerful of what you're saying. Like, your first intuition was like, just get a job. Just let's apply for everything. Let's get something to like cover the bleeding. Yeah. Get me back settled. But I'm not going to be done. Like, get anything that and everything. Like, if it has to be a job at McDonald's, like, go for that.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. Just take it.
Just stop the bleeding. Get yourself recentered and refocused on what you really want. Mm-hmm. And that's when I think your true search started, which is when you started connecting and networking because you were clear on what you wanted.
Yes.
Or you were getting clear on what you wanted. And this is when you started networking.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally. That's what I started doing. Just reaching out to people. Like, there's a
day 15. Day 15? Give or take. Would this be like day 15?
No, I would say this was like the first week I did the resume, the LinkedIn, everything, and then I just started hammering away at everything. I got lucky. I got my temporary position within the first 3 days. So
right. No, but what I'm saying, if we had like the hypothetical 30 days, right? Not what happened to you, but if it were to happen to you, right? First,
I would say day
7 days.
Yeah.
So by day 15, you've started this job at Intuit. Which you know is not your dream job, but it's a job that helps you pay the bills right now.
Yes.
Right? So next step, let's enter into like the days 15 through 30. What should she be doing? Starting to network. Now you've got some clarity, what you like, what you don't like. You're also building up the fact that, you know, in your case, you wanted remote work. You're working for a large company. So now you're reaching out. Mm-hmm. Who are you networking with? What do you do to spend the next 7 days?
I actually asked my manager at Intuit because it was remote and they have the way they do it. There's home campus, and I guess it's a different situation. But essentially, I started looking at the job listings because now I was an Intuit employee. I could see the internal job postings, and so I reached out to the recruiter at Intuit and started asking her questions. What are you looking for? What does Intuit want in someone that they're going to hire? And I did a lot of networking. I did a lot of reaching out. I asked a lot of questions. I talked to a lot of people. And then I just kept refining my LinkedIn, and I kept refining my resume. Like, it was a process. I did it every day. And every day, no matter how tired I was, I had a spreadsheet, and I went through and I just applied to more jobs. I searched and I applied to more jobs again and again and again. I signed up for any free job board I could find, anything out there. I pulled in as much information as possible. So I think it's really a matter of, I got the temporary position. And if you get a temporary position, don't rest on your laurels. You have to keep looking. Like, you can't go, oh, this is for 3 months. You can't say this is a 3-month job. And then on month 2, go, oh, I probably should start applying for something else. No, I never stopped. I constantly was applying to jobs.
That's awesome. So
kept reaching out.
And you were reaching out to people. And this is how, what were the conversations looking like, right? Because this is the part where it's kind of like bulky time, right? You reach out to people about positions. You start communicating with them. Now, this is sort of how you ended up talking to, well, who was going to give you your new position, which was actually the CEO of your company.
Yeah, CEO.
So this is how those conversations start happening, right? You start networking, you see a position, you start connecting with the people behind the scenes. Lo and behold, you connect with the CEO, right? And you have to have dozens of conversations before it happens.
You
right?
have to stop being embarrassed. You have to stop being ashamed. You have to stop feeling like these people are going to look at you like you're not good enough. You have to say, you know what? I may get a bunch of no's, but somebody out there wants to share their knowledge. A lot of people want to share their knowledge. They want to talk to you.
And so what were you saying to them? Like, how were you reaching out?
There's a tech group that I belong to on Facebook, and they post a lot of different things. And the one woman was talking about, hey, if anybody has any information they want about working at Google. So I just reached out to her and I said, this is what I'm doing. And, do you have a minute or two to talk to me about what it's like to work for Google? And I get to talking to her, and it turns out she's the only female on her team. She knows the recruiter for that team really well. They want to hire more women for that team. So, and so basically I was like, okay. And then she's like, here's the recruiter's name. Just tell him, you contacted me. So I looked him up on LinkedIn, and I actually opened my email to him by commenting on the picture of his dog that he had as his picture for his profile, because his dog was super cute, and he put the dog's name, and I was like, I thought I'd reach out to you, and I gave the dog's name, and, a super cute picture in your LinkedIn profile, and I spoke to so-and-so, and she said that I should contact you. And he was super excited that I noticed his dog. So, and then he responded back to me. It's the little things. And he actually called me. I had 2 phone conversations with him. He recommended some books. He recommended some programs, some classes. And then I continued to talk to other people in the same area. Basically, I was just like, don't be afraid. I mean, what are they going to do? They can ignore your email if they really want to. But don't be afraid to put yourself out there. And as long as you're sincere.
How many days did it take you from like initiating conversation to really pushing through to making more progress? And I really want to get to the story of like where you are today and how that conversation went out, because that's a whole that's literally like everything else was training ground.
Yeah, it was. It was all practice.
But all of these networking opportunities and you connecting with all of these people was really the training ground for where you went.
Yeah, because
to find your opportunity.
Yeah, and I was told by recruiters, we don't need you to have a degree. We hire people at Google all the time that don't have a degree. We hire people at TurboTax all the time who don't have a degree. And suddenly I've started to feel more justified.
You don't have a degree?
No, I don't have a degree. I am literally 1 class away. Yes, right now.
This makes us even more powerful, ladies, without a degree.
I did it all without a degree.
Amazing. Because you know how as women, we're always like, oh my gosh, I need another certificate. I need another class. I need extras. No.
Nope. I don't have a degree. And in fact, my boss knows I don't have a degree. And he was like, cool, whatever. Yeah, so I'm literally
awesome!
literally one class away, and I will have a degree by the end of the year. So I do have a math class I have to take, and then I will be done. And I will have a degree in computer technology, networking, and cloud security. So it's a good degree.
Powerful.
But it's
That's
nothing.
Amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, so I would say I started getting responses right away. She gave me the information to the recruiter that day. I emailed him that day. I heard back from him the next day. I had a phone conversation with him 3 days later. So it went fast. But really, it was, for me, it was a big thing about getting out of my own head, reaching out, and just talking to people.
Mm. So, all right. So this is like what you've been doing for the last, from day 15, give or take, right? You got that temporary job. You patch the bleeding. Mm-hmm. Then everything else is just literally conversations, like connecting with people, getting out of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. So then this conversation to your dream job rolls by like what, day 25 out of 30?
Yeah. About day 25 out of 30. Yeah.
All right. What happens on 25?
I was taking every day, going through LinkedIn and looking at jobs, and LinkedIn emails you job leads and stuff. So I was going through LinkedIn, and there was a remote position for a company that popped up. And at this point, I had talked to so many people, and I had decided that I was just going to be myself. I was not going to like sell myself, and I wasn't going to try to be some perfect version of myself. So I thought, and I even looked up the website. I looked at the website of the company. I was like, this is perfect. It's everything I want. He's in a video on the front page, the CEO of the company. And I did not connect that the man on the front page whose video I watched was the man I was emailing. So I sat down and I read the job description, wrote out a draft, and then wrote out another, what I wanted to say. He didn't want a resume. He just wanted an email. So I sat down and I wrote out my email, and I emailed him, and I was just honest. He wanted to know like your favorite pie or something. And then he had some questions. And so I answered him. I answered him honestly. I was just like, this is what I would do in this situation. This is how I would handle this. He emailed me back probably 2 hours and said, can you send me a copy of your resume, which I did. And he emailed me the next day and said, do you have time for a quick chat? And I was like, yeah, sure. I don't have anything going on. So
you're like, at this point, you don't even know that it's the CEO.
I don't even know it's the CEO of the company. And that's the thing that's so funny to me was I did my research and I still did not connect it in my head. And I'm glad I didn't, because I don't think I would have been as forthcoming if I had known he was the CEO. I would have thought, this guy's not going to hire me. I know I would have, even though I'd had all these conversations, even though I'd built up my self-confidence. I think knowing he was the CEO, I would have been like, nah. But he wanted to know if I had a moment to just chat. And I assumed it was a recruiter who was just going to give me some information about the job like all the other recruiters had done in the past. And so I get on the phone, and it was over an hour, and it was a full-on interview. And he tells me at the very beginning, he's the CEO of the company. And I was
What'd you say?
I was like, oh, okay. I was like shocked. I panicked for a moment. I full on panicked. I was like, holy crap, this is the CEO. This is not just some random guy. But he's so easy to talk to. And we talked. We just talked and chatted. We went over a lot of stuff. He was very honest. He asked some very probing questions about, why my position ended. Because I had worked for a very long time for the first 2 jobs I had. The last job before I was laid off, I worked at for 16 years. And then I only worked 2 years before I got laid off at the current job that I had at that time. So he's looking at my job history going, you tend to be a really long-term employee. What happened? And so I just told him, I was honest. I told him exactly what happened, that she basically ran the business in the ground, didn't have the money, and she laid me off. And, it sucked, but here I am. And he asked me for references. And I will say this, make sure you have a list of references who are going to say nice things about you. The number of people who give references and don't tell their references that they're giving out their name and information, or they throw people like get a call and like, this person's calling me about you. What do I say? I had a list of people ready who knew. I would fire off a text message like, They're going to check my references. You know, if you have time, can you talk to them? I knew exactly who I wanted to give references, and he called every single one of them.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I sent in my references that night after I talked to him for about an hour. And the next morning, he called every single one of them in rapid succession. I got text messages from everybody who he called, and they were all like, "Okay, I'm talking to him now. You know, like I'm going to talk you up.
It's happening.
It's happening." And then, literally, he hung up the phone from the last reference, called me, and offered me the job, and asked me if I could start immediately. I started that afternoon, literally. Yeah.
Day 30, from day 1 to day 30. This is so cool. All right.
And he offered me more money than what was in the job posting, and I hadn't even negotiated. He offered me more money than was in the job posting when he originally talked to me, and then when he offered me the job, he offered me even more money. So,
oh my gosh.
So
why
literally,
did he do that?
because my references were that good. My references were that good. Yeah, he gave me actually more money. I ended up with almost $8,000 more a year than what the job posting stated. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. That's so powerful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, congratulations on day 30, landing your dream job.
Thank you.
Now you've been there how long? You've been there a couple of years now.
Year and a half. Year and a half.
You've been also promoted.
Twice.
You've been promoted twice in a year and a half.
Yeah, I run the publishing department of our digital publishing. So I'm under the marketing team, but I run the entire digital publishing area of our company right now. And so anything that has to do with the website, anything that has to do with our study material, anything that has to be published that the world's going to see, I handle that. So that's my job now. I started out working in customer service and managing customer service, and now I run the publishing department. And my daughter got hired there too. So
powerful. All right, Tonia. So to wrap this up, advice for any woman who is in your shoes as you were on day 1, when you got laid off the week before Christmas.
I think I actually wrote this out. Don't let your insecurities run you. Don't let yourself feel like you're a failure. I mean, to me, that was huge. For me personally, that was huge. And don't give up. Like, it seems daunting, but honestly, talk to somebody who can give you an honest perspective of yourself and your job skills. Somebody who's going to be like, no, you're like basically the chief financial officer. Sell it, use it, and reach out to people. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I know it seems daunting.
Well, and I gotta read what you wrote, and because obviously with this review, there's with this 30-day what would you do challenge. I asked you to put in steps, right? So there's a download that's accessible with this, and a roadmap that comes along. But I've got to read what you said. Don't let your insecurities run you. I'm older. I'm a single mom. I don't have a college degree, and I figured I wasn't that marketable. I was wrong. That gives me chills. Such chills.
And it's true. I would do it all. I lost a terrible job. I got the job of my dreams. But if something happened, I know that I could do it again. I could do it again.
So powerful. Ladies, if this is not inspiration, I really don't know what is. Thank you so much, Tonia. This is so powerful.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm so glad. I'm always happy to talk to you, Olivia. You're one of my favorite people.
Same here. You are too. It's so cool to have you become a friend beyond all of the coaching and just seeing your journey. I'm thrilled, ladies and gentlemen, or gentlemen if they're watching this, that I get to call Tonia my friend. So listen to the story multiple times, because this is powerful. This is literally step by step how you go from unemployed to dream employed in 30 days.